John, this seems to be a story that many have watched because not only will it directly affect these two companies heavily, but it has repercussions across the gig economy. Could this be a game changer?
Yes, very much so. The gig economy is the fastest growing work segment in the United States right now. It is now 10 million workers out of the 150 million workers in the U.S., so it's very significant. And unfortunately, the way the gig economy companies have organized themselves, they all evade U.S. labor laws. They shirk their responsibility to their workers. So I think this is a really important step for the United States and for Americans to really kind of reassert whether or not the worker norms that we've had around in our country for the last 100 years, whether we want to have them or whether we want to see them slowly erode. So I think it's a very important case. It's very important for America and has very big ramifications.
We have seen California implement a landmark worker protection law, AB 5. What are your thoughts on having such legislation to be able to regulate this industry?
Yeah, I think AB 5 is a very good law. Look, this is the history. Gig economy companies, Uber plus Lyft and many other companies misclassified their workers, and they refused to pay taxes and follow labor laws. As a result, California passed a law specifically to kind of reel them in and to include them. Uber then refused to follow this law, so now it takes the Attorney General to sue them to try to enforce these laws. So meaning Uber right now, they do not pay minimum wage, they do not pay overtime, they do not pay for workers' comp, they do not pay into unemployment insurance, they pay no payroll taxes or sick pay. So this is a really a horrible thing for their workers who don't get these benefits, but it is also an unfair competitive advantage to anyone who competes against these gig economy companies. Take two companies, and it doesn't even have to be Uber or Lyft, any two companies, one company who's the regular normal economy company, they will pay payroll taxes. They will have a 15 to 20% cost disadvantage against any of these gig companies. So it's really, the lawsuit is really good for two reasons. One, it protects the workers as they should be protected and as all Americans have really expected for the last 100 years. And two, it kind of creates a level playing field so all companies can now compete on the same level. Otherwise, the gig economy companies have a really big advantage over everyone else.
Yeah, and we should note, this is an issue in Canada too, John, and one of the problems is it's not as though protections for employees are not on the books. There are plenty of them. Our employment laws are very strong, as they are in the U.S., but you have to agree that you're talking about employees. Once we make that change, I think we can all agree the costs for these businesses will go up. They may be able to hire fewer people. They may have to charge more for their products. There's a whole knock-on of this that will affect a bunch of other people. Do we need to concern ourselves with that? Or do you think the policymakers should just look at that straight-up question of protecting workers?
Yes, we need an equal playing field for workers and for companies. And it can't, right now, they get a subsidy by taxpayers by not having these laws applied to them. So right now, their prices are unnecessarily low. And that's unfair for the workers who don't get paid enough, and it's unfair for the competitors who have to actually pay these taxes. So they need to come up to a same playing field as everyone else. Look, great businesses are able to pay their workers decently and give value to customers. When I think of a Starbucks or a Walmart or a McDonald's, I think of companies that, have, workers, but they're able to at least follow labor laws and pay these workers a fair wage, at the same time give great value to the customers. Uber and the gig economy companies, for some reason, are unable to do that. And of course, I think they're all very smart folks with great technology. I think they could put their wits together to be able to come out with value for customers as well as a reasonable wage for their employees.
John, super quickly, will the gig economy grow after COVID-19 with all of the people losing jobs right now, so many people?
I believe it will, especially if they cover their employees and treat them fairly. I think the biggest threat to the gig economy is actually a conscious consumer saying, hey, I don't want to hire gig economy companies because they don't treat their workers well. I think that's a really big threat to their growth. I think if they solve this problem, they will grow. There's also a lot of places where you could use gig economy workers for different sorts of work, not just the food delivery or so.